Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking to you from the roof of the Time Star building in downtown Cincinnati. Can you hear those whistles? Can you hear those bells? Cincinnati is celebrating. We thought we'd let you hear what the old hometown is doing. Just listen to the noise. Even up here at 8th and Broadway, which is a little off the main drag in Cincinnati, the paper and the confetti is blowing around, and somebody must have tied down the whistle of a train, because one of the most infernal rackets is being brewed over in the middle part of the city, and we can hear it up here at the Time Star just as though it was being made downstairs. For now, that's the story from the Time Star.
I take you to NBC Mobile Unit.
This is the NBC Mobile Unit in the heart, center, and the pulsing focus of a joyous nation on Times Square in New York City. Ben Grauer reporting as I literally stand tiptoe, sticking my head outside the silver-gray turret top of the NBC Mobile Unit and look uptown over a foaming, seething, writhing mass of faces, lifted joyfully and buoyantly and gloriously happy at the final conclusion of a desperate war which has seen its closing days in a desperate day or 3 or 4 of anxiety, turmoil, anticipation, doubt, fear, and being cast down. Are these people happy? That's the only word to express it. Are you happy? And all I need to do is turn my NBC microphone down over these folks here and to see this wave of smiles, confetti, streamers, banners, bells, jingles, flags, horns, and a joyous, buoyant, glorious look on everybody's face. If I can calm down for just a minute, I'd like to take this scene apart to see that here we have a combination of every type and person in the country represented by these people here. I can see by the looks on the faces that there's a person from out of town, from the West Coast, from Kansas, from Miami, from Oakland, California. There's a serviceman from the, oh, they won't let me talk. The reason for that is that a daring Marine has just leaped upon a representation of the picture of the flag being planted on the peak of Mount Suribachi in Iwo Jima and has raised a little but gloriously defiant American flag. And in victory, this little piece of bunting is going up to the top of the Iwo Jima. And now here's a sailor on the other side of this lamppost which says Times Square Broadway, and he has been kissed both by the grape and by a beautiful girl, because he climbed up that lamppost about 25, 30 feet high. Now he's in his own little crow's nest here in the heart of Manhattan, and he's waving a happy and joyous hello to everyone below him. He's got a rose stuck in his little pocket over his left breast, just above his campaign ribbons, and he's waving his hat happily in the air. Up above, I see nothing but a sea, a rolling mass of faces conspicuously marked by the white headgear of Navy boys. And down right here close to us, a quick glance at the massing, milling crowd would indicate that there's approximately 20% of servicemen. I think that's a fair estimate. They have been drawn to this, the focus and heart of New York City, and which expresses at this moment the pent-up jubilation and joy and relief after 4 years of war. Oh, he's made it! The sailor boy got to the very top of the lamppost and then reached the most precarious peak, and he's sitting right now on a representation of the seal of the city of New York. And he doesn't care if anybody knows it. Joy, glamour, beauty, excitement, and overall an expression of tremendous relief. I see also mixed in the crowd those who are silent, mostly older people. Many of them perhaps people who will carry the memory of a loved one who hasn't returned, whose sacrifice is continuous. I see many people who are standing mouth agape. The thing is so overwhelming that they can't express it in their own jubilation and just much others. There's a little gray-haired lady with a happy smile, somewhat toothless, but all over her face, and I see that she's got a service button with 2 stars on it. Our congratulations and joy to you, madam. And here's a little girl, a Bobby Soxer, if ever I saw one, and she's kissing a sailor right next to her. The sailor seems to be having the most of it. There's a girl with brimming black eyes, and she is smiling and kissing a soldier. The Army has taken over for a moment here. And now the policemen, Mayor LaGuardia's representatives here, in a very kindly and understanding and sympathetic way, are trying to keep the crowd back who are pressing around this lamppost. And now the Marine's gone up to challenge the Navy man up there. This, then, ladies and gentlemen, is NBC's description from Times Square of a part of the VJ celebration in New York City. Ben Grauer speaking and returning to the NBC newsroom in New York.
NBC has interrupted this program to bring you a special bulletin from the Associated Press. Washington. Secretary of the Navy Forrestal left a conference with President Truman this morning to say that he hopes the surrender of Japan is an actuality and that he fully expects a development in that respect within 25 or 30 minutes. I shall repeat that. Secretary of the Navy Forrestal left a conference with President Truman this morning to say that he hopes the surrender of Japan is an actuality and that he fully expects a development in that respect within 25 or 30 minutes.
That it would probably be with us. We've been kept a number of times since then without getting it, but now it is here. The President announced at 7 p.m. today the unconditional and unqualified surrender of the Japanese. General Douglas MacArthur takes over as the Allied Supreme Commander and the man who will tell Emperor Hirohito just how to run Japan. General MacArthur will also accept the formal surrender for the United Nations. The United States acting as the country for the other members of the United Nations. That is the bulletin just given to us from the White House conference in Washington. We had received word a few moments ago that almost the entire cabinet had gone into the White House for the press conference and was on hand for this great announcement. Stay with us for further news coming to us regularly. General MacArthur, the man that so many hoped would be the gentleman in charge and would go over and take over the Japanese islands and supervise their performance until an election was held, has now been named the Allied Commander-in-Chief over Japan to command Emperor Hirohito. At the same time that our President was making the surrender announcement, Clement Attlee, Prime Minister of Great Britain, announced it in a broadcast over the international BBC broadcasting station, beamed to America. Word had been given us today that the announcement would be made concurrently in the four capitals of the United Nations, the four leaders of the United Nations. Our reply, the reply sent to us from Japan, had no qualifications whatsoever. They accepted the terms that were laid down for them at the Potsdam Conference. And this conforms exactly with the Potsdam Declaration, the declaration that President Truman sent to Japan. Word went to Japan giving them this proclamation, and if they had taken it at that time, many lives would have been saved. They chose to fight on. As a result, Russia entered the war. 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and many more. Hundreds of thousands of lives were lost as a result of Japan's obstinacy, or for whatever reason they may have chosen to refuse to accept the surrender terms at that time. But now, at 7 p.m., August 14, 1945, that war, which was started by the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941, has now come to a close. Japan has surrendered unconditionally to the United Nations. More news will come to us immediately from the White House press conference. Mutual representatives were on hand, flashed